All right, so this is page 2 in your review packet. We're just going to go through, and again, this is what your quiz is going to look like. You're going to have one graph given to you, and then I'm going to ask you a bunch of questions on it. So let's just see what we can do. The first question says, when is the function decreasing? So there's a couple different sections you could look at here. We're going to talk about both. Decreasing means the function is going down. So I have this section right here where my function is decreasing. And then I have this function over here, and it's like this whole section here where I'm also decreasing. Now remember, anytime you're increasing or decreasing, every answer has to be based on an x coordinate. So when you look at this, if I look at this first section, I start decreasing right here, and that's, let's figure out what that is. That's at 1, 2, 3, that's at -4. And then I stop decreasing right here. That's at -1. So the way I write out my answer, -4 less than or equal to x less than or equal to -1. So now I'm going to do the same thing for the other section. I start decreasing right here, and that's at +1. And then I stop decreasing all the way over here. And let's see what that is. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That's at 8. So my second answer would be 1 less than or equal to x less than or equal to 8. Increasing, you would do the same exact thing, but obviously you're talking about the sections of the graph that are going up. But the process is exactly the same for increasing. All right, second question. What are the zeros of the function? Remember, the zeros just mean the x-intercepts. So you want to find the points that are on the x-axis. So I have this one right here, and I have this one over here. So my zeros are x equals, let's see, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, -8, and 8, 7, 6, and at 6. If you wanted to, you could list them as coordinates. I would accept either answer. Okay. Question 3. How many solutions are there to f of x equals -3? Well, remember, f of x really is y equals -3. So whenever you're given a y, that tells you how far up or down you're going to go and draw your line. So I'm going to go down 3, and I'm going to draw a line across my graph. So now, this particular question is just asking how many solutions. I don't care what they are, I just want to know how many there are. So if you look, I have 1, 2, 3 different times that my graph crosses the green line I just drew. So your answer is just 3 because there's 3 different times. Question 4. When is f of x greater than 0? So we talked about that today. If you look at this, f of x means the function. Numbers that are greater than 0 are just positive numbers. So all this is saying is, when is the function positive? And how do I find that? Well, the function is positive when it's above the x-axis. So I want to go to my graph and find this section that's above the x-axis. So if you look, I have this whole zigzagging portion. This whole thing is above the x-axis. Okay? So I want to look at when does it start and when does it stop. That's what I'm looking at right there. I'm starting at, let's see, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, at -8, less than x, less than, and then all the way over here at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, at 6. Now remember, we don't include those because -8 and 6 are on the x-axis, and we want answers that are above the x-axis. Okay, number 5. What is the absolute minimum? So this means you want the lowest point on the graph. There's only one. So you want to go find the lowest point on the graph, and I want to know how low is it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's at -6. That is the lowest point the graph goes. Absolute maximum is the absolute highest point on the graph. So I want to go find the highest point on my graph, which looks like right here, and how high is it? Oh, that's at +6. All right. State the coordinates of the turning points. Now remember, turning points mean anytime you change direction. So you're changing from increasing to decreasing or decreasing to increasing. So if you look at this, my graph starts, I always read it left to right. I'm going up, 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 up. I hit this point and then I turn around and I start going down. That's your turning point. So that's the first coordinate I want to list. That's -4, +6. So now my graph goes down, 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 and look at right here, I turn around and start going up again. So there's another turning point at -1, 3. I start going up. Oh, we've got another turning point right here at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then I'm going down, 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 down. Now notice I'm still going down all the way until here. This is my last turning point, and that's at 8, -6. So those are all my turning points. Okay. When is f increasing? All right, so increasing means that my graph is going up. And again, all of your answers come from the x-axis. So when I look at my graph, this first section of my graph, I'm increasing. I'm starting right here. And this is at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. That's at -10. And I increase all the way to this point, which is at -4. So that's my first interval. -10 less than or equal to x less than or equal to -4. Now, I have this other section of my graph that's increasing. That starts at -1 and ends at +1. So that's my second answer. And then at the very end of my graph, it looks like I'm increasing again. So this last little piece right here, that starts at +8 and ends at +10. Now, notice that this question says, when is the graph increasing? I'm increasing in these 3 different spots. If I asked you to give me one interval where you're increasing, then you could pick one of those. But it doesn't say just give one, so you have to give all of them. All right, 2 more. Question 10. State the coordinates of all relative maximums and minimums. Okay. We've already done the hard work on this. You might not realize it, but we have. Every turning point, which we have listed over here, can be classified as a maximum or a minimum. So I'm just going to take these turning points and sort them out. Okay? So if I look at my graph, the first turning point that I have is right here. Is that a high point or a low point? That's what you want to ask yourself. Since it's a high point, I'm going to call that a max. The second turning point is right here. That is a low point on my graph, so I'm going to call that a min. Then I have another turning point over here. That's the maximum. Now remember, it's not the highest point on the graph, but it's still a high point on the graph. So that counts as a relative max because it's relatively high. So I'm going to add that to my max. And then as I follow along, my last turning point is all the way down here. That last one is going to be a minimum. So notice that my answers to 7 are all of my turning points. My answer to this question, I'm just sorting them out and telling you, well, which of the turning points are maximums and which of the turning points are minimums. Okay? And finally, what is the y-intercept? Okay, so where do we touch the y-axis? Well, it looks like I hit the y-axis right here. So that is 1, 2, 3, 4, up at 4. So you could say y equals 4, or you could give me the coordinate 0, 4. I don't care, I would take either answer.